Unfortunately, I was a homeless teenager at 16 and 17 years old living in Florida, and I was very entrepreneurial though. So I found a way to take care of myself at a young age, and that was selling drugs. When I came home from prison, I struggled to find a job. And eventually I was in a position where I could do something about it. And that's what got me so excited to start Honest Jobs and to have the energy to just pursue this dream for so long and bring it into reality.
Hey, Harley, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, man? Happy to be here.
Now, I'd heard about you before I got offered the chance to actually interview you, okay? And I don't like to have too much of a prelim conversation before we hit record because I want everything to be natural. But what you do is in line with what I get involved in. I'm sure you know companies like Defy, Positive Change, people like that actually try to take the hustle that got people in jail and take that hustle outside into productive businesses. Now, your entire company, Honest Jobs, and let's not wait till the end, honestjobs.com. Go and have a look at that after this podcast, anyone listening. It'll impress you. But what got you involved in it, and what is it?
Yeah, great question. Thanks for the plug there. So Honest Jobs, it's a free service nationwide in the United States, helping people with criminal records find better jobs faster. So that can be your first job out of prison, or it could be trying to move from an entry-level job to a more higher-paying job or a career. But what got me into it was, look, I grew up poor. I grew up in a trailer park in Florida and had a very small family and had a lot of bad stuff happen at a young age. And unfortunately, I was a homeless teenager at 16 and 17 years old living in Florida, and I was very entrepreneurial though. So I found a way to take care of myself at a young age, and that was selling drugs. I was an unlicensed pharmaceutical rep. I was selling prescription pills to, mostly adults. People that were significantly older than me were usually the people buying drugs from me. But it was a painful time in my life where I was using drugs. I was abusing drugs to cover up pain, but I was also making a lot of money before I got arrested. So, I was arrested 4 times. The fourth time was 2 weeks after my 18th birthday, and that's what got me sent to prison. And that's just a long story that is not unique to me. Millions of people go to prison. Millions, tens of millions have felony criminal records. And when I came home from prison, I struggled to find a job. And eventually I was in a position where I could do something about it. And that's what got me so excited to start Honest Jobs and to have the energy to just pursue this dream for so long and bring it into reality.
Hey, I'm sorry for interrupting this podcast. I know it's a brilliant one, but I wanted to talk to you about your room, your connections. Now, we know full well that great things come from great connections and great rooms. Now, if you're in a room full of people that will challenge you, inspire you, motivate you, and support you, then great. But if not, then maybe I have the solution for you. Head on over to stevedsims.com, look up Sims Distillery there, and join our community of creative disruptors. Those that are only not there to help you and motivate and actually give you information, but to support and answer questions. We very much vet the room to make sure that we support each other's growth. We all want each other to grow. So if you want to be in the right room, head on over to stevedsims.com/Sims Distillery, and I'll see you inside my room. Enjoy the rest of the show. Now, the weird thing is, and I want to be careful how I say this, and I'm not quite sure I can, so I'm just going to say it, all right? Anyone out there want to counsel me, knock yourself out. I've been involved in the rehabilitation world for probably about 6 or 7 years. And I've noticed that when you give someone a chance from an incredibly prejudicial society, the loyalty is just an unmeasurable level. So the hustle is what got them in there. Hey, I'm not trying to romanticize it. People did some stupid shit. Some people, I pray, never come out. But for a lot of people, they made mistakes at an early age. And then for the rest of their life, they're actually characterized because of that mistake they did at 17, 18, and 19. And who didn't do stupid shit then? So we're in a very prejudicial society, you've actually come out and you've got this company, honestjobs.com. How are you managing to change that? And what are the benefits of actually giving someone a shot in both the relationship you have with them and within the workforce of who you bring that person into?
Yeah, so anecdotally, you understand. I understand it. People who have volunteered in this space buy in. Once you get involved, you see it in real life, and you know that it's true that most people impacted by the criminal justice system were dealt a bad hand. They know they were wrong. They've paid their debt to society, and they just want to move on. They just want to be like a normal contributing member to society, and that requires a job. You have to have a job in America to be able to live a normal life, and these people want to work. The truth is that oftentimes companies also know this, but it's usually an individual in the company that knows it, not the organization that knows it, which sounds weird, but what we have seen is that all over the country, parts of companies are doing this work. But what we found was that it was not streamlined, it was not organized in a way that's efficient for a large company. So a large company might have someone in San Francisco that runs a reentry program, and someone in Chicago that runs a reentry program, and someone in St. Louis, and they're actually hiring people coming home from jail or prison. But it's very inefficient, and it's not, that knowledge isn't spread across the organization. So what ends up happening is someone comes home from prison and they go to a company and they don't get hired, and they say, oh, that company doesn't hire people with records. Oh, but someone in San Francisco did get hired at that company, and someone in Chicago did get hired at that company. And this is because it's small nonprofits, government agencies, social impact organizations that are doing it in their communities, which is amazing work. It's great work. I love Defy. I love these organizations that do this work. It's so important. But what a large company needs is a streamlined process. They need something that integrates with their existing systems so that it doesn't cost them more to hire someone with a record. Because the reality is that when they're going through the consideration process, it can cost more to hire someone with a record. So Honest Jobs, over the years, what we've done is we've helped over 1,200 companies hire people with criminal records. And all along the way, we've been learning and trying to figure out how can we apply technology to streamline this process so that more companies can do it, not just in one location or two locations, but at all of their locations. And I'll be honest, some of the big companies, they still don't have it right. We're trying, we're working with them every month to try and make the process better. But we're really proud that, like I said, over 1,200 companies are hiring people with records through us. And some of those are household brands that are Fortune 500 companies who are in position to hire thousands of people a year. So don't know if I answered the question perfectly, but describing the problem is that it's inefficient for companies. And there's really good actors, hiring managers that care about it, but that's not good enough to solve the problem at scale. We need system change within large companies.
I want to clarify something. You said that it costs a company more money to hire a former, felon, or not a former felon, but a felon, than it does a normal person. How?
Yeah, let me explain that. Well, first off, now I reflected on your question. I want to make sure first I want to say hiring people with criminal records, they are extremely loyal. Big companies know this because they usually have their own data to say that they're loyal. So the cost is far outweighed by the benefit. There's tons of research that shows companies save a lot of money by hiring people with records who will stay 6 months, 12 months, 18 months into jobs where oftentimes everyone's leaving after 30, 60 days. So, but let me explain how it costs more. If you're a large company and someone fails a background check, I interviewed you 3 times, you were the best candidate, and I made you the job offer because you were just the best candidate for the job. Well, then a background check comes up and I see, oh, he's got a felony. Well, the best process, or the most common process, is that throws a flag in their HR system that says this needs to be reviewed. And the person reviewing that is legal, and it's a senior HR partner. Right. So now every time a flag is thrown for someone with a record, senior HR and legal people have to get involved, and they actually have to review documentation. They're spending human capital hours. And these are people who are getting paid 150, 250 grand a year. And there's only so many of those flags they can review. And the truth is, unfortunately, that they reject people just because they don't have the time to review them all.
Now I'm getting that. Okay. Now, to say that you have data and history and knowledge on this is an understatement. You've got over 65,000 people into these jobs. And how long has this company been going?
Almost 5 years. So, I mean,
that's a big number over 5 years.
Yeah, thank you. And most of it's been in the last 12 to 18 months. We worked as a small local organization in Columbus, Ohio for the first year and a half. Then we became a software company, and we've been trying to scale. So we've grown significantly just in the last 12 months, and we expect that to continue.
Now, let's be blunt. We're pretty horrible at the moment. As a society, you know, we judge people on their T-shirts, their hair, their glasses. You know, you get judged, I get judged, we all get judged. We throw ourselves up on social, and it's a free-for-all. And there's people just come. So we're a very judgy society at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Tack the word felon on there. And it could be a driving offense. It could be something that the only one that was harmed was you, you know, as a youngster. Drugs. You were hurt, but now you've been tagged with felon, and we're quick to discard you. How can we change that in society and be not more accepting, more open for that conversation, which in turn will open to be more accepting? How can we change our prejudice today?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the most powerful things that I've personally seen is talking to someone in a jail or prison. So you've I don't know if you've gone inside the prisons with the FI, if you've done any work.
I've been going for, I think it's like six years. My son's been going for like 4.5. So I've been in there a fair old few times.
Yeah, and it's a powerful experience. I took my fiance into a prison in Colorado maybe 6 months ago, and she had never seen anything like that. And it just blew her away. We were in a supervised area with probably 40 guys that were all working on business plans, and we got to hear them all talk about their business. And she and other people are just like, these are some of the kindest, nicest people. They were thankful that we were there. And I think it truly changes. Like, just one of those experiences can change your perspective for the rest of your life on this. And I think we run a software company, so we have to think in terms of scalable systems and how do we do system change within this stuff. But at the end of the day, human beings drive a company. Human beings drive the hiring decisions. Human beings do all of this. So finding a way to educate people, not even educate them, let them educate themselves by exposing them to the system is a really good way. I think the other thing that's important to keep in mind, and I'm a big advocate for this, if you work in the reentry or reform space enough, you'll run into people who are really passionate about telling you that you shouldn't say this word or you shouldn't say that, or you need to act differently because you're going to hurt someone's feelings. I'm a big believer in the opposite, which is like when people say something and it makes you think, oh, they don't know about this issue or else they wouldn't talk about it like that. That's when I want to talk to them more. That's an opportunity to try and meet someone where they are and help them learn or better understand, why do they think felons are bad people? Why do they think that these people don't deserve jobs? Instead of shaming people, like, try to better understand, why does so many people in America think that once you're a felon forever, and like you shouldn't be able to have a job and you shouldn't be able to vote and you shouldn't be able to do any of these things. We got to work to understand that better. And I think by telling people not to say the word felon or not to say this, or you're trying to solve an education gap by just telling people they're wrong. And I don't think that's appropriate. We need to find a way to bridge that gap through experience, like giving people real life experiences and education. So I don't have all the answers, but I know typically where you were born and the experiences you grew up with are going to inform your opinion on this. So if you've never seen hard times, you've never been in a neighborhood where people go to prison, it's very easy for those people to think that once, well, you committed the crime, do the time for the rest of your life, you're a felon. The reality is if you've been around it enough, you'd have a slightly more nuanced understanding and appreciation for the fact that this is our problem. It's not their problem. It's the whole country's problem. And I think we can improve.
I remember being, as I say, I've been going into Defy. Yeah, there was a short break during COVID for the obvious reason, but we were going in 3 to 4 times a year. And I actually still do. So if any of you want to challenge yourself listening to this show, not on how to communicate in an uncomfortable situation, challenge the way you actually learn to relate to people, but also address your perceptions and your judgments, then please stay in contact with me, reach out to me, and I'll take you to prison with me next time I go. And I will be going with Defy. And I also charge you $500 as a donation to Defy to do so. But the one thing I noticed was that as we went in there weren't a lot of choices for a lot of people. They had lost the zip code lottery. They're in an area where by the time they hit 8 or 9 or 10, and yes, single digit age, they're being told, hey, you're a cool kid, you're in this gang, or you're in this gang, or we'll both mess you up. And so they were given those kind of choices, which in fairness is no choice. And then they're being hit with it. Now, the daft thing that I found, and it is daft, they didn't want to be making those choices. But at 8, 9, 10 years old, what choice do you have? So as they get older, it's too late. They've been in a gang. They've been done for this. They've been transferring drugs around because, hey, Uncle Patty turned around and said, pass this to Billy, and it just happened to be a kilo or something. So, again, not trying to romanticize it, but they didn't have a chance, and they didn't have a choice. We do. When we're taking someone on, we can look at the person. We can look, and I think this is something about entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs know that quite often we float a little bit close to that flame. And sometimes the wings may get a little bit cinched. And, whew, that was lucky. We got, I don't know, how you file your taxes, how you prepare your company, your marketing, whatever. These people went straight in and got burnt. Now, entrepreneurs, I think maybe that's why everyone that's ever come to prison with me has been an entrepreneur. Whether or not they've worked for a company or not, hey, that's irregular or irrelevant. People are entrepreneurs inside. They've been able to make the choice. We've now got to get people out of the stupid tick box mentality to go, hey, here's a person that fucked up, all right? Whether it was his fault, whether it wasn't his fault, whether it was an environment, whether it was his zip code, I have the choice whether or not to give the chance in the knowledge that this actually may be my most loyal, hard-working person I have ever met. Now, as you say it like that, how does it possibly seem a tough choice to take?
Yeah.
But what are you doing to educate people and promote the company that you're in?
Yeah, I love the way you said it, because you started out by saying that they didn't really have a choice. I mean, people will argue about this all day long. People will say you always have a choice. Well, yeah, of course you always have a choice, but sometimes the best choice is to join the gang or to sell the drugs or to so yeah, they have a choice, but the choices are way worse than some of the choices other people have had in life. The options, right? So we don't call it, people, I don't care about the vernacular of it, but people call it second chance hiring. We call it fair chance hiring. And that's exactly why. Is because so many of the people in our system are people that came from really bad circumstances where they didn't have the same choices we all had in life. And we're just trying to give them a fair chance. So when we talk to employers, we talk about this is you are weeding candidates out after you decided that they were the best person for the job. You interviewed 20 people, you narrowed it down to one, and you made the offer, and then you are changing your mind, which clearly shows that this has nothing to do with work experience. It has nothing to do with knowledge or education. It only has to do with fear and bias. And occasionally, it has to do with real risk, right? If someone committed embezzling twice and it's a banking job, then you have a legitimate reason to tell them, look, we can't give you this job.
Yeah.
But 95% of the time, that is not the problem. So what we do is, first, a little bit of light education around stuff like that. Like, here's the problem is, 10 to 12% of the workforce has a felony, another 20% has a misdemeanor, and your company is by and large just not hiring any of them. So you're spinning your wheels trying to find people when they're right there in front of you. They want to work for you. And then we help them understand why they're not already hiring these people. Because we have HR leaders from really big companies meet with us, and they just want us to help them hire these people. And I say, well, are you weeding them out of your background check process? And they don't know it. They say, oh, no, we're fair chance. We're second chance. And I say, okay, well, let's pull the data and look at it. And when me and my team look at their data, we show them, look, last month you rejected 100 people with criminal records. Do you know why? And they say, oh, well, no, I don't know why. We'd have to look into that. And then sometimes it takes them three or 4 months to finally get an answer. When they get the answer, they said, we weren't supposed to be rejecting those people. Our systems were weeding them out. So a lot of the education is around organizational change. It's around like, okay, the head isn't talking to the hand, isn't talking to the foot. I can't say the name of these companies, but top 5 biggest companies in the world, we've worked with one of them, and they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars with us, and they've only hired a few people because every time we make a step towards progress, some other part of the organization messes it up. So there's system stuff, but we are helping them understand through case studies, showing them other companies who are hiring people, helping them understand the statistics around just because someone has a violent charge or a sexual offense does not mean that they're going to be a sex offender or a violent offender for the rest of their life. It's a very common stigma where companies will say, we'll hire people with records, but if it was a drug charge from like 7-10 years ago, we'll hire them. Okay, well, that's a very small portion of people in America that have crimes. I've met people with aggravated assault charges, aggravated robbery, even sexual offenses that are some of the best people I've ever met in my life. Church-going people, God-fearing people, whatever you want to say, family people, and helping companies see the human side of it, the business case for it, which is a big one, and then helping them get out of their own way is really how we do it. And once all of that is done, they can post their jobs with us, and we have some software that takes care of the risk piece. Like I said, there's 5 to 10% of the people rejected are rejected for a real reason, like an actual conflict between the nature of the crimes they've committed and the nature of the job that they might be doing. Fraud and finance, DUI and truck driving. Sure. You think about, there's hundreds of these. In our software, when a company posts jobs with us, we're actually matching people with jobs based on part of the algorithm is considering, is their crime relevant to this job? If they have a fraud charge, we're not going to promote a job to them where part of their job is dealing with sensitive customer information or banking information. So we have an algorithm that's reducing the friction for employers. So if they get 100 applications from us, all 100 of those should be people that they can hire with no risk to their business. So that's the thing we tell them, but most companies can't even get to that point because they are in their own way, or there's just so much stigma in the organization that they can't truly get buy-in from the organization.
It's crazy. So we're being judged for our darkest moment. I don't know anyone. I sure as shit wouldn't be like to judge for my darkest moment because we've all had some. So it's a shame that we're in. But I'm very grateful that you're doing what you're doing and actually getting us to address basically an issue that we have with ourselves. And quite often we don't like to look at people that have made mistakes because maybe that mirror's showing at us. And I've noticed that a few times. Obviously, I will never say names, but I had a guy in there one day and he said the difference between these guys and me is I never got caught. Yep. He said, and I was able to go on and make a big business. So it's a shame that it is that way. Again, let's call it out. What's the best way for people to reach out to you? What's the company?
Yeah, it's honestjobs.com. So honestjobs.com, you can go there. It's completely free for job seekers and for employers. If you're listening to this and you know someone who hires people, don't care what it is, cleaning service, construction, or if you're looking for a lawyer or an accountant, you can post those jobs with us. We got highly skilled white collar employees available as well, not just hard labor. And it's free anywhere in the US. Maybe we'll expand abroad eventually, but not yet. We've only helped 70,000 people so far, but there's 70 million people with a record in America. And really excited to share that message. And, I think that there's a lot of work we can still do with employers. And part of that is having them share that message as well. We're helping some companies share publicly that they're doing this work, and that's something they're very hesitant to do, but we are getting more and more companies willing and interested to share that they are open to hiring people with criminal records, and they do want to, because at the end of the day, like, a lot of this is just driven by fear and stigma. And one of the things, I know I should have shared this earlier, but historically companies spent millions of dollars on background checks to weed people out. We're asking them to not only not spend money to weed them out, but to intentionally weed them in, which is a very tall task. And we are a venture capital backed startup. I thank you to all, like, my investors who have invested in Honest Jobs to do this important work. It is hard work, and I'm thankful for all of the people who've contributed to help Honest Jobs become a reality. If you go to our website, you can watch like 100 video testimonials of job seekers and literally watch grown men and women tear up because how grateful they are for a job that you and I may think is a crappy job. They're just so thankful to have someone who knows about their past and said, I still want you to work for me. And that's the loyalty and the passion. It's hard to find anyone that wants to work right now. And to have someone that wants to work for you and they're so ready to work that they're actually telling you how thankful they are for the opportunity is a rarity right now. So, I really appreciate you having me on. And hopefully some people will hear this and be inspired and want to take action.
Well, Harley, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. I urge everyone out there to challenge the way you communicate with other people, and maybe challenge the way you employ people. So don't be judged on your darkest hour. Don't judge others. Harley, thank you very much. HonestJobs.com. I wish you all the best with it, and stay in touch.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, that was another episode of the Art of Making Things Happen podcast with me, your host, Steve Sims. If you like it, you know the scoop. Subscribe, tell your friends, share it around. Let them get benefit from this juice. And of course, if you want to change the room you're in, join Sims Distillery. Jump over to stevedsims.com/Sims Distillery, or you can find a link directly from that website. That's the room where creative disruptors get together to actually help each other become better. If you've got standards or you want higher standards, join the right room. See you next time.